The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 5.5-point favorites at home against the BC Lions on Thursday night. The two teams met in week 3 with the Leos dominating en route to a 30-6 victory, though Vernon Adams Jr. remains out of the starting lineup due to a knee injury. With Dane Evans set to get the nod for BC, who you got?
I've got the Bombers to win, but I've got the Lions to cover in this one. This is as close to a must-win as a 5-2 football team could possibly have in the summertime. Winnipeg lost the first matchup between these two teams this season. If they lose this one, they've lost the season series, and they're also 4 points back of the BC Lions. That likely means, given the schedules, BC's got a soft schedule the rest of the way this season, that Winnipeg would not host the West Final for a third straight year. I think they're going to get it done. Dane Evans, I think, looked solid last week, but he was doing it against Edmonton. So far this year, everybody's looked good against Edmonton. I think the Bombers step up and get it done on home turf. The Lions are also traveling. They're coming off a short week. That is a disadvantage. And they're also without Josh Banks, who I think is the most, if not the most, certainly one of the most underrated players in the CFL at defensive tackle. So I like the Lions to cover, but I think the Bombers are going to close it out by, let's give it a Sergio Castillo field goal.
There are multiple reasons here to like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. First and foremost, Dane Evans is not a mobile quarterback in Hodge. You've talked about this, and I think it's a smart point. Winnipeg has struggled against guys that can move the football with their feet and create off-schedule plays with their arm down the field by using their legs to get free. So that is reason number one. Dane Evans has seen his action against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who haven't been great on defense, and the Edmonton Elks, who are towards the bottom of the CFL on D. And also the fact that the Blue Bombers are coming off a bye, and they know how big this game is. And time again, throughout this fantastic run that the Blue Bombers have had since winning the Grey Cup in 2019, this team rises to the occasion. So I'm actually going to take the Bombers to cover. That obviously means that I think that they win, but I think they want to respond in a major way here to what happened all the way back in week 3, when I believe some of the quotes, Hodge, even that you had, Winnipeg saying that they felt embarrassed by that game. So I think they want to right a lot of what they felt were wrongs in that week. I'll take a motivated Winnipeg team, especially Zach Collaros. You've alluded to it. Didn't look great against the BC Lions in week 3. I think he's going to be highly motivated. And oh, by the way, the Bombers have their best playmaker in the lineup on the field, talking about going for 2,000 yards after he's already missed a handful of games in Kenny Lawler. So I will take the Bombers to cover the spread.
The Calgary Stampeders are 8-point underdogs on Friday night when they host the Toronto Argonauts at McMahon Stadium. The Stamps are coming off back-to-back losses against East Division opponents and are 0-3 at home to start the year. Can the Stamps cover or even potentially win against the undefeated Argos?
Whew, man, it is an ideal spot. And really, in a bunch of other scenarios here, I would be taking the Stampeders as major home dogs. But this Toronto Argonauts team is so laser focused on what they're doing. They don't turn the football over. They take it away at the best rate in the CFL right now. And I just don't trust Jake Maier to even be able to keep it close, to be quite honest. He couldn't get a win on the road in Montreal that, in my opinion, was a must-win situation for Calgary. I still think there's a way that they can get into the playoffs because the Roughriders aren't that good at quarterback in their own right now with Mason Fine and Jake Dolegala, but I'll take Swag Kelly, AJ Ouellette, Tavares Daniels, Sean Oakman, Flo Ormalade, Jordan Williams, Royce Mechie, all these guys to put it on the Stamps in Calgary.
I'm going to take the Argos to win. I think they absolutely go to 7-0, but I am taking the Stampeders to cover in this one. And maybe I'm just thinking back to last year when the Stampeders embarrassed Toronto at McMahon Stadium. I think that game was 29-2, which happened also shockingly late in the year. Like the Argos won the Grey Cup 6-7 weeks later after getting their butts absolutely whipped in Cowtown. But I am going to take the Stamps to cover here. The Stampeders are 2-5. They've got a murderer's row coming up. They've got Toronto, I believe it's twice, Winnipeg once, and BC once before Labor Day. Now, I'm going to go out on a wild limb here and suggest that the Stampeders are going to beat the Edmonton Elks on Labor Day. I know, shocking, bold prediction. But up until that point, they need to get a couple of wins here. Yes, the Riders are struggling at third place, but I think the Calgary realizes that they need to make some hay, even with the tough going for the next month. They can't just rely on that back-to-back with Edmonton to pick up some W's and pick up some momentum. So I think they're going to keep it close. The coaching staffs in Toronto and Calgary are almost one and the same with how many people have been in both places. You know, Brian Dinwiddie, guys like Corey Mace, guys like Pete Costanza, so many, not just coaches, players as well in Toronto were in Calgary. These teams know each other very well. They know each other's schemes very well. I think that helps keep it close, even if the Argos keep rolling in the win column. The Hamilton Tiger Cats are 2.5-point home underdogs to the Montreal Alouettes on Saturday in a battle of two teams currently tied for second place in the East Division. Bill Levi Mitchell will not play for the Tiger Cats, giving Taylor Powell a chance to make his second career start. Can the Tiger Cats get it done at the Donut Box?
There's a possibility, but I don't think so. I like the Alouettes in this ball game, especially if Cody Fajardo is going to continue to protect the football and they can run the rock with William Stanbeck, because I like the way the defense looked with Sean Lemon over there. I think he brought a new energy. They were getting after the quarterback better in week 8 against Jake Mayer. And I think Noel Thorpe's unit has been playing very fast and physical this season. Chandler Worthy is as dangerous as anybody in the return game right now in the CFL, maybe outside of Javon Leake in Toronto. But I really like what Montreal has going on here. I think they're a little bit under the radar, and I just don't feel the vibe with the Ticats right now. So give me Montreal to cover on the road.
I am taking the Alouettes as well here. This is only 2.5 points you got to eat. I would be happy to take this up to 4, maybe even 5 points. Noel Thorpe's defense, I think, will make life very difficult for the rookie quarterback. I 100% agree with what you said, Dunk. I think Sean Lemon has breathed some new life, some new energy into this Alouettes defense. By the way, Almondo Sewell and Sean Lemon were college teammates at Akron, and they've both been in the CFL for over a decade. I believe this marks the first time they've ever been teammates in the regular season, which is wild to think that they played in college for, I think it's 4 full years as part of apparently a stacked Zips defensive line. Now they're doing it over 10 years later in La Belle Provence. I love that. Yes, the Alouettes just had a 3-game losing streak. Guess who they lost to? Winnipeg, BC, and Toronto, teams that everybody has lost to so far this season. I like them to win this game. Cody Fajardo has not been flashy, but he does not have to be flashy. He just has to be consistent enough. He almost wasn't consistent enough. My goodness, he missed that late deep shot to Keon Julian Grant this past week. That was a heartbreaker just because, man, that would have been such a nice play. But I am taking the Alouettes here. I think they are the better team right now.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders are short home underdogs at home against the Ottawa Redblacks on Sunday night in a game that opened as a pick'em. The Redblacks are coming off a tight loss to the Ticats, while Saskatchewan got splashed by the Argonauts and touchdown in Atlanta. Can the Riders get their first win with Mason Fine as their QB1?
I'm taking the Riders here, Dunk. I am. I think Mason Fine has taken some steps. Do I expect him to be the second coming of Ron Lancaster? No. But I do think that he has done enough. I think that Ottawa's defense, as much as they've done a good job rallying to the football, again, it's not as tough as the two defenses that Mason Fine has seen so far this season. Defensively, I think Saskatchewan is going to do a great job of keeping Dustin Crum in the pocket and making life difficult for him. You mentioned it. He is not, at the current rate of the hits that he's taking, going to be able to finish out the season. He's got to play smarter. And if he, in a very tough environment at Mosaic Stadium, is pushing the ball downfield, that could be a great opportunity for Jason Shiver's unit to get some picks and force some takeaways. So I am taking the Riders to win and cover a very short spread at home.
That's what could be a great equalizer here, is the noise at Mosaic Stadium that I don't think Dustin Crum has experienced yet in the CFL. It's usually one of the louder buildings. I don't think it's the loudest these days because that designation goes to IG Field. But I'm taking the Ottawa Redblacks. I like the reinforcements that they're getting back at the lineup. And if Dustin Crum can, for the majority of the game at least, deliver the football in rhythm and on time, and not just be looking for lanes to run on designed passing plays, then I think the Redblacks can be dangerous. I thought they should have beat the Tiger Cats a week ago. If they would have won that game, getting those 5 picks, I think this line could be definitely different because people would be feeling different about Ottawa. So I think there's actually some value there. And the Redblacks know that they got to win games here to keep pace in, dare I say, a tight East Division, especially if they want to have a shot at a home game. I know we're not at Labor Day yet, but the Redblacks need a bounce back game here, and so does Dustin Crum. So I'll take Ottawa.